All right, guys, today we are checking out the electric Polaris Trailblazer build. I purchased this in the winter of 2023 with the intention of immediately converting it to electric. I found this from a guy on Marketplace that had purchased it for his son, and soon after seeing it run and hearing it run with its pretty loud 252 stroke, the man's wife said, absolutely not, my son is not riding that thing. So he put it on Marketplace, I think for around $800, and I came out and bought it. The engine ran, but barely. It had some carburetor issues, but I didn't care because I was going to put an electric motor on this thing anyways. So first thing I guess I'll talk about is the motor itself. It is a QS 138 90H, which is the larger version, V3 with gear reduction. And the reason I went with the gear reducted motor is I didn't want to have to run a really large rear sprocket. The advantage of this is you don't have a sprocket hanging down and getting bashed against rocks when you're going on the beach, or logs when you're going through the woods. The sprocket could actually cause you to be caught up on things. So I did just run this with the V3 motor for that reason. The other advantage of the V3 motor is that it offsets the sprocket a little bit rearward. When you run the motor on its side, it offsets the sprocket towards the pivot point. So those are advantages, because if you can get your sprocket closer to the pivot point of the swing arm, you will have no issues with chain slacking under suspension compression. The next component was the battery packs, and I did decide to build those myself. These are 6P 21S P42A moly cell packs. This setup is drawing 500 battery amps, so having the 3 packs is an advantage. This can run on 2 of the 3 packs. It's just not going to have as much range, and it will have a little bit more voltage sag, but it actually does run quite well on just 2 of the packs. You can see 1 is forward in the frame, and then 2 of them are sideways, one on top of the other. I built this little battery shelf out of angle iron. Each battery pack is capable of 250 amps for a total of about 750 amps of potential. The controller is the Far Driver 72 1000. So that's 1000 phase amps, and it has 500 battery amp capability. So 500 line amps, 1000 phase amps. This setup is running maxed out, so I have a 3-mode switch, as you can see here. And in mode 3, that is the full 500 battery amps. In mode 2, I think it drops down to about 350 battery amps. And mode 1 is my daughter's profile. My 5-year-old rides this, and I use mode 1 because that mode is set up where she can't go over about 10 miles per hour, and the power is severely limited, and she's actually able to handle this thing just fine. Which is another one of those advantages of electric, is the infinite tunability and adjustability for any rider. Next, I will discuss the chassis and the modifications that I've done to that. If you look at the front profile of this Trailblazer, you will see that it is a bit lower and wider than most Polaris Trailblazer 250s. And that is because this is running suspension from a different Polaris model. I can't remember the specific model, but it does run a shorter spring and shock. So I did just swap out the suspension from that four-wheeler. If anybody is interested in lowering their Polaris Trailblazer about 2.5 inches, drop me a comment and I will post the link to the listing on eBay for these springs and shocks. Next is, you'll notice this four-wheeler is about 2 to 2.5 inches wider than stock, and that is because I'm just running wheel spacers. Anybody can find those on eBay and I think even Amazon. I'm just running wheel spacers. So I wanted this lower and wider just for the way that I ride, which is fast around turns on trails. And so that was kind of my biggest gripe with the Polaris Trailblazer 250, was it was sitting kind of high and narrow and it really wanted to roll. All right, guys, that's about it. Let me know what you think. I hope you enjoy this build. I hope you enjoy watching it rip. I'm going to show a few clips of this ripping at Busco. I will also be posting some clips that you can watch of this absolutely dusting a Yamaha Raptor 700. Something to keep in mind though, is that this is just one gear. So this outran the Raptor 700, the Raptor, I think it's the YFC 450. It did outrun those ATVs on I think a 1/8 mile track. This tops out around 55 or 60 because of the way I've geared it. Those four-wheelers will go beyond, I'm pretty sure they will go beyond 60. So I do believe they would outrun me on the top end, but getting the acceleration, it's not even close. I'm easily pulling on them the whole way down the 1/8 mile track. All right, guys, let me know what you think. I hope you enjoyed it.